Hi, boys and girls. I'm on here today to talk to you about writing a personal narrative. So, for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of this week, you're going to write personal narratives. So, I thought I would come on and review exactly how the process for doing that. So, when we think about a personal narrative, one of the ways to think about it is to think of a giant watermelon. So, if you have a huge watermelon that's not cut, so the big green watermelon, that's like a giant idea. So then what you do when you have a watermelon is you cut it and now you have a slice. So a slice is narrowing down the giant topic to a smaller idea. But then what you really want to think about is when you write your narratives, take focusing on those little tiny watermelon seeds, the really specific details. So I have a chart here that explains that a little bit. So it says writing small moments. So the you can see this big this is a full watermelon. Then we narrow it down to a slice, and then we narrow it down to the seeds. So they're giving you some examples. So the example of the big topic would be there was one day there was a rainbow. So the narrowed down example of the smaller slice is when I saw a rainbow, I knew I had to look at it. And then the small moments, one day I saw a rainbow and I followed it all the way to the end to see what I would find. So that's a quick example of taking a big topic, narrowing it down a little bit more to like what we would think about as a slice, and then narrowing it down even more to be more specific, like the seeds of a watermelon. So I took an example from my own life, and I thought I would go through the process with you. So the first thing that I did was take this circle map, and my big topic, or like my full size watermelon, was last summer. So Mr. Hudon and I had a really busy summer, so I thought I would write all the things that we did. So here it is. At the top, my big topic on my full watermelon would be last summer. And then all of these parts in here could be slices. Those could be all of like the ideas that could turn into stories. So some of the things we did is we went to concerts, we went kayaking, we went strawberry picking, blueberry picking. We visited Cape Cod, Vermont, New Hampshire. I went tubing for the first time. We went to Red Sox games. So I went to the top of Mount Washington in a train. We did a lot of amazing things, and here's my ideas. But I decided, and I'm going to take my marker over here and show you that the topic that I wrote about, I'm going to circle it, and this is where I'm going to zero in and write all my seed details, is kayaking. It was one of my favorite memories of last summer. So now I'm going to take that smaller idea, or like that slice of kayaking, and write all the seed moments about it. So here we go. So I did this all ahead. So now if I take this paper, and it says writing all about seed ideas. So my big idea was going kayaking. So then I'm going to focus on these ideas. I'm going to focus in on seeing beaver dams up close, because we got to see 7 of them as we were traveling down the river. Figuring out how to use the kayak, that was like one of the hardest parts for me. And we saw mountain views, we saw all sorts of amazing things. So my big idea again is going kayaking. And then I narrowed it down to the smaller moments that I'm going to write about in my paragraph. So as you can see, you want to try to explain all about your memory or your experience. So those were my beginning ideas. And then you could have a graphic organizer that looks something like this, and it's the same information from that one again, where it says the watermelon is the big idea, and that was last summer. And then the slice, which is my topic, is going kayaking. But now I'm going to take all those seed moments that I just wrote down and include those in my story and explain about them. So seeing beaver dams, figuring out how to move the kayak, and all of the beautiful views. So that's a different type of graphic organizer, but with the same watermelon pictures. Again, the full-size watermelon is your big topic, or your big idea. And then the slice is the topic of your story, and the seeds are all the details. But you really want to focus in on those seeds. And some of the ways that we want to write, when we get to the paragraph stages, we want to have a good beginning, a good ending, and good details in the middle that really let the reader know in experience your memory with them or what you're writing about. So you want to use like sensory words, like what did you see? Did you hear anything? Did you touch anything? All of your sensory words. Some good ways to start the paragraph might be these here, and I kind of highlighted the one that I'm going to use. It's ask a question, but some other ones could be a single word, a sound, an interesting fact, an opinion, or I like ask a question. That's usually how I start mine. But you could use any of these. And these graphic organizers are all on the slides for you to reference. And then some good endings, or ways to end, could be a surprise ending, a thought, a question, a sign of what's to come, or something funny. So those are just some examples. I mean, there's other ways, but you want to make the reader want to read your paragraph. So you want a really interesting beginning, awesome details in the middle explaining your whole experience, and then the ending should, end it in a way that's exciting so that it kind of matches the beginning part, sums the whole thing up. So I wanted to mention that when you're writing, you should have some good transitional words. And I have a few different versions of these on the slides, but they're things like time words, place transitions, ideas, summarizings. Like, for instance, a time transition might be the next day, after a while, later that day. Some place transitions could be in our backyard, we went upstairs, on the playground, behind the door. Idea transitions could be another reason, another thing. For example, would you believe? I like that one, would you believe? And then summarizing transitions, so like ending ones, finally, in conclusion, as you can see. So those are some interesting ways, because of course we're almost like third graders now, practically. The year's almost over. You want to be showing your good writing and everything that you've learned from the year. So those are a little bit closer because I know the print's a little bit small. So now here is my paragraph, and we'll see if I did a good job doing all those things that I just mentioned. Do I have an exciting beginning? Do I have a great ending? Do I have good details in the middle that explain all those seed moments of my experience? So here we go. So my title is Beaver Dams and Mountain Views. Have you ever seen a beaver dam from the water? I have. Last summer, Mr. Hudon and I visited Vermont. We decided we would go kayaking. I was nervous because I had never kayaked before. At first, I was so frustrated. I could not figure out how to move the kayak and the paddles. Every time I wanted to move forward, I was going back. Ugh. But I kept at it, and eventually, I figured it out. I am so glad that I did because we had an awesome day. We saw so many cool things, but my favorite things were all the beaver dams. Toward the end of our trip, we had to go down a hill that was right in the middle of the river. I was so scared. As I pulled my kayak to the edge, I felt like I was at the top of a roller coaster. Finally, I found the courage and leaned forward, pushed my oars, and down I went. I was so proud of myself. That kayak trip, seeing the beaver dams up close, will be a memory I will never forget. So that is, I typed it on the computer, so it was a little bit easier to see. Now my paragraph is long, but I had a lot to share about that one experience. So what are some of the things that I had in here? Did I have an interesting beginning that asked a question? So my beginning was, have you ever seen a beaver dam from the water? So I did. I used a question. Let's see how my ending is. That kayak trip, seeing the beaver dams, will be a memory I will never forget. So I kind of talked about the beaver dams again at the ending. So kind of tied the whole thing together. Did I have some good details and transitional words in my paragraph? Last summer's a transition. At first is a transitional word. Every time. Towards the end. And finally. So all of those are transitions. And then I think that you can all agree that I have some really good details in here. So I'm talking about I was frustrated. At first, I couldn't figure out what I was doing. I really almost wanted to quit. I almost started crying, if you want to know the truth. So I couldn't get the kayak to go forward. I was going backwards. It was so frustrating. I almost lost my oar in the water. But then I figured it out and I had some amazing things to see and experience. So I was so glad that I did. So I hope that you understand a little bit better how to make a great personal narrative paragraph, which is what we're doing. So today, on Wednesday, you're going to write a personal narrative that is a birthday experience. So anything about a birthday. So it could be your favorite birthday, the favorite way that you celebrated, a favorite gift that you liked, or a gift that you didn't like, actually, but all about a birthday experience. Then tomorrow, on Thursday, you're going to write about a time you were frustrated. What frustrated you? How did you feel while you were frustrated? Did you figure out? I guess I could have written a story about being frustrated kayaking. And then on Friday, for your last personal narrative, you're going to write a family memory. So is it something that you do together as a family, somewhere that you visited, something that makes your family special, and all about it. So those are the topics that you're going to have to be writing about, and those were the steps on how to write a personal narrative. Happy writing!